Hello friends, Jennifer Pearson here, Thistle Gypsy, continuing my exploration of the Tarot of Transformation and the reordering of the suits and the major arcana in a way that, you might say in a way that supports my belief system, but I think that's going too far because this deck comes with its own belief system. I just say in a way that makes some kind of sense to me. I guess is how you would say it. So I've got the book out, and I'm looking at their descriptions. So I'm going to read part of it. We're going to start with the discs, which would be like the pentacles or the coins. Now here they say the suit of discs relates more closely to daily life. And I don't know that I saw that in here. This doesn't strike me as a very daily life kind of a deck. But anyway, it does say we have chosen animal imagery for this suit because animals have traditionally been used to represent various qualities of energy in the physical plane. And I feel like this whole deck is like qualities of energy. As the numbers ascend, the biological forms become more complex. So we'll see what I did, because I did this last night and I'm not remembering what I did. I'm not sure exactly how I took this, but I did end up with this as the beginning. So it looks like maybe, well, but this is the 6 of discs, so maybe we're going to have a difference of opinion about about how things progress. Partly because, the egg is isolation and insulation, okay? So that's where we're starting. Then we have, expansion. We're feeling, this web allows the spider to sense things outside. Usually they hang out in the center and they can feel the outside world. They're not, well, some spiders, you might say, are quite active in the outside world, but in this sense, it's more an understanding of everything. I mean, in order to spin this web and put the anchors, you have to have some familiarity with the outside world and how to get it to work with or for you. So here we're in more a state of freedom. So these are going through the animals. So this would have been the 10 of discs, which means that this would have been seen as a higher form. And much as I do love birds, and hawk is one of my enduring totems, I'm just not going to claim that. But I'm going to let go. I'm going to let go of what's in the book at this point, and I'm just going to go with what I did. And I was also seeing a progression here. But, turtle isn't here, and turtle would be between here and here if I was going strictly by, an evolutionary, or at what we see as evolutionary within biological evolution. So here, I don't know, maybe this, I might put this here, just because these are on the ground. Might do that, although that disrupts the whole watery thing going on here. So I'm going to set that aside for a second. And what I discovered is that there's lots of pools and waters and water in this. So first we have, and so I'm going by the size of the pool is what the progression is about here. It's not about the animal. It's about the size of the pool. And do I understand why I'm considering the size of the pool important? No, I have no understanding of that. But I'm sticking with it. All right, so here we have the leopard, or I'm going to say leopard. It doesn't look like it's in the... I'm taking this to be an African environment as opposed to a South American environment. So the leopard by a small pool, the bears by a larger pool, the wolves where the pool hardly even makes it in. It looks like it's the edge of a lake. And then our sea turtle out in the sea, where you see actually there's no grounding here whatsoever. So you're still on the earth and you're in the earth elements, but you have departed from the ground. And I don't know, maybe this whole pattern needs to reverse. I don't know, but then this gets very cosmic, and I think that's why I went from and this is healing the planet, and that's why I went from small pool to large pool to a more cosmic consciousness. And here we're looking at the earth within the cosmos. So there's that representation, and then there's a break, and maybe this can be our return to earth here. I could see that. Possibly. I'll put it there for now anyway. And here is, so now we're introducing the people cards. So first we had the only animal cards, and now we're doing the people and animal cards. And this is the hinge here. So we have the 3 of discs, and this is not like a real frog. This is like the idea of a frog. It's a human representation of a frog. And it looks like that frog is like pooping this spiral pool. It seems to be coming out of its back end. It's like, all right. And she's also pouring things in. So it's kind of it's a co-creation sort of, well, an integrated work, yeah. It's a co-creation kind of a thing. But I feel like this is, so here we're co-creating, and here I feel like we're letting the animals lead. Increasingly, we're letting the animals lead. And again, to me, that's a little bit letting go of the need to have an impact on the world and being comfortable with just being and what is. And so here you have the bond between, ourselves and a domesticated animal. And then you go into ourselves, and it's just domesticated animals, 2, wild animal connection with only 1. And then just kind of a general connection with multiple species, and again, just sort of being and is and being very comfortable. This feels exploratory. And this is just a comfort, and even her nudity would kind of indicate a comfort. And this is multiple people, and I don't know if it belongs here or not. Maybe not. Maybe these 2 could be reversed. But the important thing I think here is you've got multiple people, at least that's the way I'm perceiving. You could also, I suppose, see it as one person making a journey back into flight, kind of back into this sort of energy. So it's kind of like coming back down and then finding your way back to the spiritual energy, and seeing yourself as, instead of needing to impact the world, as somebody who is just very integrated completely. And this is the final card of this deck. Excuse me, of this suit. So something like that. I'm not going to say that's that I've got that completely figured out, but there it is. And so, to my thinking, so each of these are like, I feel like in this deck, each of the suits is honoring the importance of our relationship with this particular thing in our lives. So this is honoring the importance of our relationship with the physical world. This is honoring the relationship, our relationship with our emotions and our connections, our emotional connections with others. This is kind of our relationship with the larger structures in our lives and kind of with swords, kind of the society and the structures that society creates and the structures that we create using our minds. And then this is a more spiritual, our connection with. When I was looking through it, I was thinking that it has to do with the unseen. That this is our connection with the unseen. As I talked about in the other video, you know, you've got fairies and fantasy creatures in here. So if this is emotion, and this is kind of society, you know, very closely aligned with the physical, but, you know, starting in the mental plane, the things that we create physically. And this is kind of like our relationship with what we cannot perceive directly through our emotions, our senses, our mind. Okay, it took a minute for me to get there. All right, so I'm starting this with the untying of the mask. And this can be a mask that we wear with ourselves, our perception of ourselves. I don't know if it was the start of this video, I think it was. My memory problems are getting pretty serious. Where I was talking about my perception of myself as a reader and how difficult it is for me to let that mask go. It's like, and I'm not going to judge the mask. I'm not going to say that I'm not genuinely a reader. That's absolutely, but you know, it's like this. I see this removing of the mask, the untying, kind of like the shedding the skin. So there we go. Our relationship with ourselves, more than anything, with this mask. This is our relationship with ourselves and how it is perceived by others. So this is the introduction of a small audience and how we perceive ourselves, or how that changes, or how we feel like we need to look in that mirror to please other people. This is larger society. You know, again, this kind of conjoins with all of the structures going on here. So it's like this story takes place in this suit. And then I see this as disorientation, and they do call it mental detour. And when I first looked at this card without really considering how it fell or what its relationship was to the other cards in this deck, I thought, well, why is that a mental detour, you know? I mean, but I get it, because these are forms of relationships here. And most of this suit is a form of relationship. And this is the one where the person just sort of looks lost. The person is looking lost. And how they get to somehow, you know, it's like lost in their singleness. I suppose by defining oneself increasingly by our relationship to others, that we become lost. And here this person has centered. Now, how this person has centered, it seems like there should be a card between this one and this one. I don't know. But this person has grounded and centered. So to me, this is kind of where it says abiding in love. I feel like this is self-love, having achieved some self-love. And then sharing that with others, you know, understanding love by connection to others. And again, this is just a friendly connection. This is loving someone enough to provide service and support one another through this doesn't look like a difficult time, but you know, may even be helping somebody get to a better time. So maybe this is what needs to go here, because this was a strange card to me. Natural intimacy, and there is a sexual aspect to this with that. Doesn't look like a satyr. It looks more like a pan fawn type creature. So maybe that actually leads you back to more grounded and centered physical way of being back into yourself. An interesting way of thinking about sexuality and masturbation, but there you go. And so here we go. Continuing on. Sharing support. And I just feel like we're now again entering sort of the spiritual. So this is connection with other people based on self-love. This is starting to connect in a broader sense. You know, this is our relationship to the natural world. So it's from relationship to self, relationship to society, relationship to intimate others, other people, and then kind of a cosmic relationship to the natural world, seeing the natural world in our interior. So we're getting kind of shamanic here. And there are actually two people here, but this is a matter of exploring the inner landscape. So I see this as a deep dive, just not accepting ourselves or our personal traits and etc., but more a deeper dive than this. You know, she's up near the surface of the water here. Here they're going down, and one person is way down there. Down to the bottom and swimming around, checking things out. You've got an interesting dragon. I don't know if it's a dragon boat or a dragon over here. I'm not sure. Definitely got some fire and water energy going on there. And then again, I feel like it's just dissolving into oneness, which is supposed to be the ace. And I've got it way back in the back of the pack here. So I see this as really nurturing others, you know, doing this is a whole different ball game than taking on the needs of a child, you know, and you know, her whole body, you know, you don't even see her body. You know, so she's kind of, and this is the progression here, is letting go of our identity, even physical, for the benefit of others. So that level of emotional attachment. So we've done our deep dive. We've connected with others as who we are, and now we're sort of letting go of who we are in order to support the journey of others. And it starts with the baby, and then she's a little older, and then we have generations, and then we have things just kind of getting real cosmic and, you know, nurturing all kinds of creatures in the unseen and that kind of thing, which is receiving grace. And so what I would say is that in my ordering of things is that you get to the point where you are providing grace to others. It's not about receiving, it's about providing. So there's the cups. So now we're at the swords, and I'm starting with the 8, and I'm not taking this. I'm not taking that keyword at all. To me, I'm going with this, and this is being constrictive. So this is, the way I've perceived this, is an escape from, at least to begin with, is an escape from structure, which I think is definitely a reflection of my personality. So here we have the 8 of Swords. It's a peaceful 8 of Swords, but you are in a structure, in a society. That's a big enough place to have its own society there. Cutting away the illusion. Okay, this is almost like family. Okay, so if you're in a family and maybe it's a dysfunctional family, it's not serving you, as in the 8 of Swords, a traditional 8 of Swords, the structure that is around us is not serving us. So this is cutting away the illusion. All right, that we are bound by that structure, and that structure does somehow serve us. It's like, what's behind? What's the other side of that structure? And that's what this is to me. And so you've cut your way out of a structure. And now you're kind of presented with other options, and you're on your own in terms of creating your own structure. And again, the idea of leaving home definitely serves here. This person is on a path, but it's not necessarily, well, this doesn't go anywhere either. But it does serve a purpose. Anybody who understands a labyrinth. But anyway, you know, and again, a bunch of different forms are being presented, but we're not committed to any of them. Here we do commit to a path, even though, again, this path ends up going back to the beginning. Takes us to a center sometimes, and sometimes it just keeps walking and walking around and coming pretty much back out from where we return to. And this is called the trust walk. So, in other words, to me, that's committing to a structure, whichever one of these it is, and taking it to its end, whatever that may be, in order to see, again, whether that serves us, what happens when that happens. So this, I don't know. I'm starting to think that this might belong here in terms of looking out. I do feel like it does. Looking out, maybe even honoring what's there, and then cutting through the illusion. All right, that's what, like I said, I wasn't sure how this would work out once I got started, if I would see things a little differently. So here, to me, this is kind of, and now I feel like this needs to go someplace else, because to me this is letting go of the need to escape other structures or find purpose in other structures, but looking inward. And so this is almost too dynamic. I would say I might put that here, and that it's starting to, these things that are random are starting to come together with a certain energy. And then this is finding some structure, and this is structure within. And it is called mapping the mind. And so this is creating elaborate structures, the analysis of structures. So to me, this is almost comfort, becoming comfortable with structures, and seeing how they, in a sense, this is not what we started with is not inherently bad. We just needed to escape it and to come to our own terms, right? So this strikes me as a card of seeing how this is connected to this, is connected to that, is connected. In other words, seeing the true purpose of it, even if we found it constrictive at one point. So seeing the expansive, how, like this got chemistry here, you know, how a molecule is formed of smaller and larger structures and how it's all integrated. But again, I see this as received knowledge, and this moving toward freedom to me is looking to find patterns that have not been discovered yet, and thus leaving the story. Okay? And that's how scientific discoveries happen. Some of it is building upon other things, whether going macro or micro, but oftentimes it's questioning assumptions, moving toward freedom. So leaving that behind, stepping outside of it, and leaving the story. Because science, I always say, you know, don't believe in science. Science is a method of questioning, all right? So we're leaving the story to see what can be discovered. And then we get into these cards. And I don't think that they belong anywhere else in here. And they are kind of faceless people. And I know that one of the reasons that I put this card after this one is because there's two. There's the two birds that are rising up and leaving the story. And then you have these two people who are a Venn diagram. Two people who are a Venn diagram. And I'm not gonna try to understand that right now. I think it's valid, even if I can't express it. And so we're into, certainly we're into the structures that people are part of, as opposed to the structures that we create. It's more cosmic. So maybe this is spiritual. You know, what do we have in common? Well, it isn't our physical bodies, it's something spiritual. Something beyond that, that mysterious connection that happens when we do a card reading for somebody that's the other side of the world from us, that kind of thing. And this is, again, I don't know if this one should be the last one, but I don't think so. I think I agree that this is the last one. But the idea here is that we're letting go of, I think this, though, needs to be, I think it goes like this, that we're letting go of structure that is like the structure of the cards or the structure of the table, you know, and we're going for something that is more holistic, intuitive, more difficult to express, and more difficult to represent in the physical world. And so I see this as partly that. So what are, I mean, and this is what a lot of people are exploring right now, right? What is the structure of, say, our spiritual path? What is the structure of the soul's journey or path? That kind of thing. And I see this person kind of doing this on their own. Here, they're finding structure within a community of people who are doing the same thing, and with the bones there from the past. So they're finding a spiritual tradition to give them structure on their spiritual path. And to me, this is representing someone who has mastered or is comfortable with both our mental structures that we create and our, well, I would even say the not knowing of the structure that we're trying to understand here. And it's like part of the reason that we want a structure is because we don't fully, we're spiritually, she's happy, she's not afraid, she's seeking, she knows that there's something there. But it's hard to grasp, and there's no structure for climbing the rainbow. Whereas this provides a guide, and this is somebody who I think is comfortable with not knowing, but is also somebody who knows the structures on the physical plane and is comfortable with that, and may be comfortable with the differences and comfortable with the not knowing, comfortable with, hey, maybe there is no structure. Maybe we, I don't know. All right, so here we are with the mysterious wands. And here I am doing a complete inversion and making the 10 the first card. So this is called No Self. And it's interesting because, the light strikes. So this is a formative card. The light strikes and then shows all of the color of the rainbows through that prism. But, we could say that there's a lack of control there. But in any case, I think that I like that as a formative card, a beginning card. And then we have, they're calling it inner seeing, but I see this as individuation. Again, you have somebody who has no features here, and you have somebody here who has features, and there's something or someone there. It looks like it may be coming into being with a guardian spirit or something. And this is also a suit of structures. And that is curious to me. I haven't figured it out. But so here, maybe this is the structure of the self. This is what happens when two people get together, that, and lighting up the, and it, it has been said, and it says right in the book, this doesn't have to be a sexual union with somebody. It can be, but it does have to do with sensuality and being very much in the body. I see this as, again, a larger structure. But now I'm seeing this. And the biggest way that I was looking at this was these structures. And so this. But we might need to have that there and then this. So it's almost the dissolving of these structures. So if we go here, there's not much structure there. It's all light. Here we have a pattern forming. Here we have a more complex pattern forming. And here it has expanded. It's not necessarily more complex. It might be less and so maybe I do need to move this one back. And it's like this is more complex, but here it has really expanded, and it's like she has, it's like you see how she's holding one of these here, and she's holding one there, and there's one there. It's almost like she's creating the patterns. It's called Master of Wands, Temple of the Goddess. So it's like she's creating the patterns, managing might be a better word for it. You know, maybe the cosmos is creating these patterns and she is managing them and bringing them together. If we go back to the chemistry from this, it would almost be, you know, when people are creating molecules or putting things together, because we know that they will mesh in a certain way, bond in a certain way. So yeah, maybe I do need to reverse this. I don't know. This one's still baffling me a little bit. So now what we're doing is we're deconstructing this. So instead of managing the patterns that are coming, here I feel like she's, or creating them, here we're entering them. So here she's like entering the pattern, and the pattern is now inside her also. So I don't think I need to reverse this. This is, it's interesting. And here again, the pattern is inside her and expanding, but she is still very solid, very her. She's not, she hasn't lost anything there. Here, she's starting to dissolve and become part of the pattern. It's like the pattern has become bigger than she is, and it's pulling her in there. And here, we have completely escaped the pattern. You know, but we're still grounded, and there's, these two are tied by fire too. It's like here she's got her foot on the earth, but she hasn't become one with it yet. It's like she's creating friction. And here she actually grounds and is at one with the earth. So it's like having a perception of the other world and finally finding a way to be in and part of the other world. You know, and you've got these fairy wings, and we have fairy wings here. And so I need to read. Let me see. What did they say? What did they say about their wands? Which is just a little far out. It is a little far out. So they also, the wands is kind of the last one that they talk about. It is exploring the energy of the chakras, is what they say. I don't see chakra energy in most of these. I saw it in some of them, yes. And so it has to do with wheels. It says the chakras, often depicted as wheels, are energy centers in the body through which we maintain contact with other people and our environment on an ethereal level. And then it gives a reference. So I don't know if that's to a book or what, but highly sensitive people may see or feel the chakras, assess their functioning, and intervene with them, usually balancing or opening these chakras. And then it goes through what the chakras are. I really just don't see. I mean, some of them are clearly root chakra, like the gal with the flame down, you know, connecting with the earth, but it says most of the imagery in this suit draws from the Devic, D-E-V-I-C, or nature spirit realm, which consists of higher vibration energies operating behind the scenes. Okay, so these are like invisible forces, so I was perceiving that. A more common name for some of these ethereal beings is to call them fairies. You will find this fairy energy on many of the cards. Oh dear, chakras and fairy mixture, my lord. I feel like I've got something right in the movement towards the fairy But I don't feel like I have this suit completely figured out. Whether by my own, you know, I don't know. So here, all right, so she's made the connection, right? Down here. Here she's got two little figures. So there is a funny progression here. You know, it's like as you become more attuned, maybe your chakras become healthier, more of this energy shows up. Or it could be the reverse, you know, with my having like a power animal in every chakra, or in sometimes multiple, and calling on multiple. My sister said that she had heard that when that happens, it's because you're really out of balance. You need a lot of help. So I could have this backwards, where, I don't know what was my first, maybe not this one, but this is more completely healed. I don't know. I'll have to think about that. But I'm going to go with this. So you have the two there, and now you've pretty much got all fairy energy, or you are becoming more of a fairy here. It's not just these two little gnomish folks there. And this is freeing your expression. Here we have a much larger, more developed, if you want to call it that, fawn energy. And then like well, and this person here is being pulled into the vortex. And apparently when you get pulled into the vortex, you become a butterfly angel-y creature. So maybe I have these reversed, because here she is sort of yearning for that, and you've got a little fairy here. So maybe it should go this yearning, and then she gets pulled up along with the music of the thing. I don't know. But here she is. This, all these sparklies are an angel also. So maybe it does go like that. And then off she goes. And then she's flying off on her own. This is called the dream time. So living in the dream time as, you know, kind of above the structures that are here. So there we go. It's the end of my wrestling with the Tarot of Transformation. As I said, I might end up doing some journaling about this, and just, although I'm not much of a writer these days either, I find that going through these cards and ordering them and trying to kind of get in touch with the mindset that produced them, and I'll say not get in touch with, but, and it's not come to terms with, because that's not what it is either. I'm trying to do the Venn diagram thing. Where did it go? Where are they? This. I'm trying to do this with this deck. It's like, where do we meet? I'm here, you're there. Where do we meet? And, you know, where, so I need to understand this person a little bit to understand where we meet, as well as myself, and then ask, all right, can we work together? And what will I be using you for? How will we work together? So stay tuned. I'm not done with the Tarot of Transformation, but I will be, because I just don't see having time for much of anything, like over the next 6 weeks or so. I could be surprised, but I don't think I'm going to be surprised. So I will have to come back to this at a later date. You know, it might end up being a winter project or something to get back in and do some writing around the suits in the Tarot of Transformation and what I see as, or how I see the progression of the cards. All right, everybody, seeing the mouse cord indicates that I am about to cut you off. Take care, everybody, and I will see you again soon. Bye-bye.